Hello everyone, in this video I'll show you how to calculate simple interest using the formula I is equal to P times R times N, where I stands for simple interest amount, P stands for principal or the amount of loan or deposit taken out initially, rate is represented by the letter R, and N stands for time or the period of the loan, right? Now remember, this is simple interest. It remains the same for each year. This is not compound interest, right? Compound interest is where the interest may increase each year, whereas with simple interest the interest remains the same or is charged at the same amount each year, right? So a loan may be 1 year long or 2 years long or 3 years or 4 years and so on, but the interest, the simple interest that will be charged will be the same at the end of each year. Or even if there is a deposit amount, right, and if there is interest earned on the deposit, a simple interest earned on the deposit, that amount remains the same each year, right, unless the rate changes, right, which doesn't happen often, but we'll focus on examples where the rate remains the same for the period of the loan in order to calculate simple interest, right? So in this example, Mary borrowed $1,000 for 4 years at 5% interest rate. How much interest will she pay? Now just to let you know, with the interest rate, sometimes the questions don't specifically say whether they are per annum or per quarter or per 6 months. When it doesn't say, you assume it's per annum or for 1 year, right? So it's 5% simple interest for 1 year. And let's try and work this question out to understand better. So in this question, the principal is $1,000, the rate is 5%, and the time is 4 years, right? So we'll use the formula that we have discussed earlier. Interest is equal to principal multiplied by rate multiplied by time. In this case, principal is $1,000, rate is 5%, but we need to convert it from percentage in order to use it in this calculation. So any number to convert from percentage is you need to divide by 100, right? And the time is 4 years, so we'll just write down 4 there. So 1000 multiplied by 5 multiplied by 4 will give you 20,000, and you still have to divide it by 100, right? So you've got 2 zeros there, you're left with $200, and that is the interest amount that will be paid over the 4 years at 5% interest rate, right, for this particular loan. In this example, Mary borrowed $1,000 for 0.5 years at 5% interest rate. How much interest will she pay? Now this question is slightly different in the sense that the time is not a full year, it's half a year, right? It says 0.5 years at 5% interest rate. Interest rate is obviously simple interest at 5% per year. Now let's try and do this example. So in this example, the principal is $1,000, the rate is 5%, and the time is given as 0.5 years. Now with the rate, as I showed earlier, you need to convert it from percentage in order to use it in this formula. So 5% is the same as 5 divided by 100, which is the same as 0.05, right? So that makes it easier when you're doing your calculation. So we'll use the same formula. Interest is equal to principal times rate times time. Now principal is $1,000, and the rate we have already calculated as 0.05 multiplied by the time, which is already in years. Now if the time wasn't given in years, you'll need to convert this time. For example, if it was given in months or weeks, you need to convert it into years. But because the time is already given in years as 0.5, the calculation is straightforward, right? So if you multiply these three numbers, 1000 multiplied by 0.05 multiplied by 0.5, the answer you get is 25, right? Now because it's in dollars, your answer is $25 simple interest will need to be paid for 0.5 years for a loan that's initially at $1,000 at a rate of 5%. In this example, Mary borrowed $2,000 for 4 years at an interest rate of 5%. How much interest will she be charged for 1 year? Now this example question is slightly tricky in the sense that the time is not actually 4 years, it's 1 year, right? Even though the loan is for 4 years, but the question is asking how much simple interest will be charged just for 1 year, right? So let's work that out. So the principal is $2,000, the rate is 5%, and for the year, remember, it's 1 year. The question is asking for 1 year simple interest, right? Not the 4 years. Even though the term of the loan is for 4 years, the question specifically says how much interest will be paid at the end of the first year, right? How much interest will be charged at the end of the first year. So we only take into account n as 1, right? 1 year. So we'll use the same formula. Simple interest is equal to principal times rate times time. Principal is $2,000, so we have 2,000 times rate. 5% is the same as 0.05 because we'll divide it by 100, and the n or the time is just 1. So if you multiply 2,000 by 0.05 multiplied by 1, the answer you get is 100, right? And it'll be in dollars, right? So $100 is the simple interest that will be charged or paid at the end of the first year of the loan, right? Or year 1. With this example, Anna borrowed $500 for 8 months at 7% interest rate. What is the interest she will pay, and what will be the total amount she will pay, right? So as I mentioned earlier, 7% interest rate, if it doesn't specifically say if it's for 6 months or 1 year and so on, you assume that the interest rate applies for 1 year, right? Per annum or per year. Now let's try and work this out. So the principal in this question is $500, the rate is 7% per annum or per year. The time is 8 months, right? And the question is asking for two answers, right? One is you need to calculate the simple interest, and you need to calculate the total amount that will be paid at the end of the loan. Now the total amount to be paid is the simple interest plus the principal, right? So that's simple to do. Now let's first of all work out what the simple interest is, right? Now we'll use the same formula, but here's the tricky part. The time is given as months. We need to convert that to years. So 8 months, if we had to convert it to years, we'll do 8 divided by 12, right? So why we use 12 is because there's 12 months in total, right? So in order to convert these 8 months, right, or if you had to convert months to years, you need to divide the month by 12. So 8 divided by 12, it's a decimal, it's actually 0.667, right? So we'll use 3 decimal places, and the rate 7% is the same as 0.07, right? Because it's divided by 100. So let's use the simple interest formula. I is equal to P times R times N, right? So this is just P, just to make it clear. This is P. So we've got P times R times N. Principal we know is 500 multiplied by rate we know is 0.07, and the time we have already calculated is 0.667. Now if you use a calculator and multiply these 3 numbers, the answer you'll get is $23.33. $23.33. So that's the interest part there, right? So that's done. Now you have to calculate the total amount. Total amount, as I said, is the principal plus the interest. So the principal is $500 plus the interest we have calculated to be $23.33 equals $523.33. So that's the answers there, right? The simple interest is $23.33, and the total amount that will be paid after 8 months at a rate of 7% per annum for a loan that's $500 is $523.33. With this example, Mira paid $500 interest in total for a loan that was charged 10% simple interest for a term of 2 years. What is the initial loan amount, right? So this example is slightly different in the sense that it's already given the simple interest amount, which is $500, but what it's asking for is the initial loan amount or the principal, right? So it's given the rate, it's given the term of the loan, and it's given the simple interest amount. What we need to do is find the principal. Now what we need to do is actually use the same formula but make principal the subject of formula in order to find the principal or the initial amount, right? So let's work that out. So in this example, we need to find the principal amount. The rate is given as 10%, the time is given as 2 years, and the simple interest is already given as $500. So the rate 10% is the same as 0.10. We've got the time in 2 years already, and simple interest is $500. So we'll use the same formula. Simple interest is equal to principal times rate times time. Now if you know how to make variables or numbers a subject of formula, you'll know how to do this. Because we need to isolate or leave principal only by itself on one side of this equal sign, what we can do here is, because the principal is multiplied by the rate and the time, in order to remove it we can divide it, right? Because it's multiplied, if we divide it, they cancel each other off, right? And if we're dividing on the right hand side of this equal sign, we need to do the same on the left hand side of the equal sign. So we divide simple interest by R and N, right? The rate and the time. So your new formula becomes simple interest over R times N is equal to P, where you already know your simple interest, $500, divided by rate is 0.10 multiplied by time, which is 2 years, and that should give you the principal amount. Now if you compute this, right, so $500 divided by 0.10 multiplied by 2, that will give you an answer of $2,500, and that is equal to the principal. Now some questions will be like this, some questions will even go and ask, they'll give you the principal and they'll ask what the rate is, or they'll give the principal and the rate and the simple interest, and then they'll ask what the time period of the loan was. So what I've done is, towards the end of this video, I've organized the formulas where these different type of questions may be asked, and you can use these formulas directly, right, in order to do calculations for those types of questions. But the main formula remains the same, right, which is simple interest is equal to principal times rate times time, right? That is the main formula that you can work from. And if you know how to make subject of formula, right, so you can easily make P the subject of formula, or if the questions ask for, you can make R the subject of formula or N the subject of formula, right? It's very easy to do, but that's only if you know how to make the variables the subject of formula, right? So just to recap, the formula to calculate simple interest is I is equal to P times R times N. where I is the simple interest amount, P is equal to principal, R is equal to the simple interest rate given as per annum or per year unless specified otherwise, N is equal to the time, right? Now sometimes, as I discussed earlier, the simple interest might be given, but you have to calculate the principal or the rate or the time. In those cases you can use these formulas. So if you had to find principal and the simple interest rate and the time were given, you can do simple interest divided by the rate multiplied by the time. If you had to find the rate instead, you can do simple interest divided by principal times time. And if you had to find the time of the loan, right, you can do simple interest divided by principal times rate. Okay, if you know how to do, or if you know how to do questions with where you make subject of formulas, then it's very easy. You can use the main formula, which is simple interest is equal to principal times rate times time, right? I is equal to P times R times N. If not, you can refer to these formulas and answer the questions. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this video does help you. If you did like the video, please share and subscribe for more.